Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Brandon. Welcome to Audio Addiction, where you find latest album reviews. You can find our band interviews, and you can find live coverage of the concerts that we get. If you missed out on my first review of 2020, it's Earthshatter's newest EP, 1135. Go check that out if you're a fan of this. I feel like you'll enjoy that record. I will also be doing a review of All Systems No's newest EP that also comes out tomorrow. So that will be out hopefully this weekend, and then the following week I will be doing a review of Savage Hands' newest record as well. And if you have any more suggestions, drop them in the comments. If not, I will be doing them on my monthly wrap-up video for each month, so definitely check that out. And if you are free, come hang out. I will be making events for those coming up this week as well. But tonight we're going to be talking about Novelists FR's newest record, C'est La Vie. Yeah, every streets are crowded, no, it's too intense, but nothing is ever made alive. So for those of you who aren't familiar with this band, they're a band from France. They had to go through some name changes. They originally used to be Novelists, but they went through some legal issues that I probably can't say as much because I don't know, but I know that they changed their name. If you haven't checked out this band, go give them a listen. Their previous record, Souvenirs, back in 2015, was when I found out about the band, and I did a review of their most recent release, which was Noir in 2017. That one was one of my favorites of that year, so go give that one a listen if you haven't, and hopefully you're excited for this record as well. But I'm going to go through each track, give you my thoughts and opinions on it, go through some pros and cons, and then finish it out with an overall rating. So the first track is called Somebody Else. They released a music video for this one, and I believe this is one of the singles that they have out currently. I think if you are a fan of Noir, you'll find a lot of similarities in this track. It definitely feels like, you know, a kind of a continuation of Noir, which is always a good thing. As I had mentioned before, it was one of my favorite records of 2017, so I was totally about it. It has that like familiarity to it, which is always great. Matteo has a really strong performance both on his cleans and scream sides. I think he's one of the best, most underrated vocalists out there currently. I think he just does both super well, and as I said, I feel like he is an underrated vocalist. But I think some of the more standout moments for me is, I'm going to probably butcher your name throughout this entire review, but Florestan, I think that's, I'm not French, so bear with me, but I feel like his guitar work is just so well executed. It's just eloquent, it's beautiful, and it doesn't feel like he's just trying to be progressive to be progressive. Like, a lot of the riff writing that he has is just unique, and I love how I think he's the only guitar player, so I love how he does also the soloing on this track, on all of the tracks off this record. I know that they had a guitarist, but I believe that he left in 2018, and he's really just been killing it. I mean, even back when they had two guitarists, I thought he was just doing well, but a lot of his I feel like he has a little bit more of an input on this record for sure. As speaking of which, he has a really great solo at the 3 minutes and 20-second mark to around the 3 minutes and 36-second mark as well. And I really love the last minute of this track. I think just the addition of strings really kind of like beefs up this track just a little bit more. But this one is a great record, great song to start off the record with, without a doubt. So we're going to move into track number 2, which is Deep Blue. Similarly to Somebody Else, I feel like Deep Blue is kind of keeping a similar tonality. You can kind of notice a trend. I don't know if these were maybe kind of the first tracks that they were working on initially after Noir, and they kind of had that similar vibe to what they were doing there, but nonetheless, really excited, and I was very stoked for that nonetheless. I think Matteo really pushed his cleans in this track. Like I said, his clean vocals are really, I feel like they stand out a lot, but I would say more specifically in a track like this, where a lot of it primarily lies on his clean singing. I think he was really able to belt out some really powerful notes, and just vocal construction wise, I think is just awesome. I love the multiple layers of like cleans and screams, the harmonies. They just really knew how to work it out where it didn't feel like there was maybe some dead space or something that needed to be filled. There was just these little small like musical like vocal changes throughout kind of the majority of this song that just really makes it the way that it should be, and it just sounds awesome. And I think that this one is a little bit more on the softer side, which is, I think, lends nicely to the nice lead work that they have going on towards the end of the track. But overall, another really solid one that I feel like I don't really have too many gripes about. So we're gonna move into track number 3, which is Lily. I feel like the changes are starting to happen now when you get into this portion of the record. Mateo kind of is a little bit looser. I feel like this one's a little bit more of a slower, more melodic track. It's not as, I would say, more like, I guess, like guitar vocal. I feel like Deep Blue and Somebody Else really had some more forward based guitar work, and this one I feel like there's a little bit more reservation. Mateo does a little bit of rapping towards the beginning of the song, which I thought was very interesting as well, but I also feel like it features a lot of his more lower register, which I personally like as well. He really has this really deep tone to his lower register that I think resonates, no pun intended, with a song like this, where it's a little bit slower, it's a little bit more melodic, and you can kind of tool it a little bit more to make the song work out better. I also feel like the trade-offs between kind of screens and cleans in the second verse was something that definitely was something that I enjoyed a lot in this track, as well as it being more, I would say, more bass and drum centric. It doesn't feel as much like the guitars are doing a lot of the heavy lifting, which is great because it gives an opportunity for the rest of the band to kind of show off their skills, which is definitely always a good thing. There's another solo at around the 2 minutes and 55 second mark to around the 3 minutes and 17 second mark, really kind of rounding out the track, but overall another solid one as well. So we're going to move into track number 4, which is Modern Slave. This one is definitely the bounciest and grooviest. I think the only other track that maybe would give it a run for its money is either Kings of Ignorance, or I'd say maybe the last track, Human Condition. But getting back to Modern Slave, if you've been missing a heavier Novelist, this is the song for you. I feel like they definitely took their inner souvenir era Novelist, and it came out in a track like this. It does have a little bit of noir flair in it, but I would say if you're an OG fan like me, this is a track that you could definitely gravitate towards because it is just heavy, brutal. Mateo's screams sound awesome. I think this is probably one of the heaviest tracks that I've heard in a while that they've done. I mean, I know that they've done heavier tracks, but this one just felt just a little bit more bone crushing, and I loved it. He definitely hits more of that like lower guttural kind of, I wouldn't even say guttural, I guess it's kind of close. There's definitely some parts where he gets really low vocally, and it definitely makes a track like this stand out just that much more. The instrumentals are super tight on this, not only on the guitar but also the drums and the bass as well. It really keeps that kind of progressive flair going on, and they really just rip it up. Probably my favorite portion of the track is around the 1 minute and 45 second mark to around the 2 minutes and 13 second mark. That was probably my favorite portion, is just that like really sick breakdown that they have going on, and when this track comes out, I'm sure that a lot of people will enjoy this one as well. But it's one of those things that when I was listening to this track, I was just like, this is Novelist to a T, especially older Novelist. This one feels that much more aligned to that. And then there's another solo at around the 3 minutes and 10 second mark to around the 3 minutes and 42 second mark. Definitely one of the best tracks off the record, hands down, and one you should go give a listen to as soon as you can. So we're going to move it into track number 5, the title track, C'est la vie. And this one features Camila Contreras. I don't, again, very bad with names, but I know that I wanted to give her the credits. So she's in this band called Bliss Sai. So if you are a fan of her vocals, go check her out. I think she really did a fantastic job, but I am getting ahead of myself a little bit. This is definitely one of the most softest, more melodic tracks off the record. This was one that they had posted a music video for, and is also one of the singles as well on this record. But I think this one, moreover than anything, really utilizes Mateo's clean vocals. There's like no screaming in this track whatsoever, which is definitely nice. It's a different change of pace. I wasn't really entirely expecting a song like this, but I kind of figured, based off of like kind of the more melodic tracks that preceded this one, I felt like a track like this was going to come out. I went into this record pretty blind. I didn't really hear any songs except for maybe Head Rush, and so I felt like this one was a nice kind of counterbalance to a lot of the more heavier tracks. I think it's a good placement on the actual track listing as well, because I feel like Modern Slave is just that really kind of brutal, aggressive track. I think the juxtaposition of that is having kind of more of a softer song to cleanse your palate in a certain way. I also feel like Camilla's vocals also offer a really nice counterbalance to Mateo's vocals, which is definitely really nice. I always love when female and male singers are together. It's just something about it that just creates something very special, and it's something that just rings nostalgic to me in that way. But Camilla's vocals were very good. I would say that they were probably one of just one of those vocals that you can definitely remember as you're going through the record. She almost has this kind of like raspiness to her vocals in certain parts, which I really think is really nice as well. And her vocals aren't just kind of like in that one like chorus portion of the song. She's kind of mixed throughout the kind of first verse of the song as well. You can hear her register in that as well, and that was very nice to kind of maybe not be just in one portion of the song, but kind of like branch out and allow the like kind of harmonies and more melodic points to come out in a song like this. But probably my favorite portion of this song is the bridge. That one just kind of soars to the top. It has this really great crescendo moment to it, and I think it was just really well executed, despite maybe it being more of a softer song. So we're going to move it on to track number 6, which is Head Rush. As I mentioned, this was the first single that they had released to kind of kick off the record, but this one feels like C'est La Vie, which is the track I just talked about, but I would say it's a little bit more on the more aggressive side. There are some like softer, more melodic moments, I would say, more so in the like verses, and I'd say the chorus has a little bit more of that like aggression, a little bit more like of a punch to it. The screams and cleans I think are definitely balanced out well, and I think they're structured out well too. The screams really kind of hit on those larger choruses, and the clean vocals really kind of keep a great melodic movement throughout the track in the verses. The track feels balanced to me for sure, and I think that it does a good job of keeping my interest, being it that it is a 5-minute song. It's always hard to kind of keep the attention of people, but I feel like with this song I didn't feel like I wanted it to be over, but it wasn't going so fast that I was just like, man, this just feels like it's a lot longer than it is. It really flows well. I think they did a great job of kind of, again, keeping the interest of the listener, despite it being kind of a longer track. We're going to move it into track number 7, which is Kings of Ignorance, and this one features Florent Savalti. Again, I'm very bad with names, so I'm hoping that I'm not butchering them too bad. But he is the vocalist of Landmarks, which is another fantastic band from Europe, so you should go give them a listen. But getting back to this track, I love this sort of layered guitar, like effect-laden guitar parts, and that reverby sort of drum intro. Very interesting. I think that they really did a good job of making it a unique kind of standout track. As I had mentioned before, I feel like if you like Modern Slave, you'll definitely dig this track as well. It's I feel like Modern Slave and Kings of Ignorance are definitely, toying with each other in terms of being the heaviest track off the record. I haven't really been yet to determine one. I'd say maybe Kings of Ignorance might be a little bit heavier, but honestly, it's kind of a toss-up at this point. Also, I feel like Florian does a really great job on this track as well, really lending his screams super well. I think his vocals cut through the mix pretty well too. It's not like he has a similar tonality to Mateo. They kind of, clash in a good way. And his vocals come in at around the 1 minute and 58 second mark to around the 2 minutes and 35 second mark, and then he comes back in a little bit and does kind of like a trade-off scream part with Mateo, and then Mateo obviously finishes out the track. So definitely one to keep an eye out for when it comes out. It's one of those heavier ones that, again, if you've been an older Novelist fan, this is a song to go listen to. So we're going to move into track number 8, which is Rain. This one features Michael Hurst of Nubia. I haven't heard of this band, but after listening to Michael, I will definitely go check out his band. But this one was very good as well. It was a little bit more ethereal, a little bit more ambient, but was also, again, very tight in that sort of aspect of it. The riff writing on this track by Florestan was probably, again, one of my favorites. I'd say up there with Somebody Else in terms of some of my favorite guitar writing off this record. I also love the kind of vocal overlap. I don't know if it was like a creative or stylistic choice, but there's just these moments where it doesn't overlap a lot, but there's just kind of that like bleed in sort of effect to the vocals, and I think it really cuts through the mix well. It also cuts through a lot of just like, the vocals feel different enough where it's not just like one kind of like monotone, like melodic moment. There's just kind of this variation that I really enjoy. The solo starts at around the 2 minutes and 16 second mark and goes to around the 2 minutes and 46 second mark as well. And that is when Michael comes in at the end of that solo part, and he kind of finishes out most of the song up until the 3 minutes and 30 second mark. I think his voice was very interesting. He had a really unique tonality to his voice. Again, I would love for him to kind of do like kind of a vocal harmony or duet with Mateo. I think that would be very interesting, just because his vocals are so different from Mateo's that it would work. But I loved his verse. I thought he did a really great job. I don't know if it was necessarily a verse, maybe a bridge, but really well executed. I think all of the features thus far have been really solid, and I feel like they contribute a lot to the songs, but not so much that they're just kind of like, oh, well, this song has like a feature on it, so it's got to be good, So I feel like they lend themselves to the song, but they don't lend themselves so much where it's just like, oh, well, I just came for this XYZ vocalist. I think it really works well. So we're gonna move into the last track number 9, which is Human Condition, and this one features a guest guitar solo from Aaron of Intervals. But this one, I think, really ending the record in true form. It really has those moments of melodicness, but also has some really great heavy moments in this track as well. I think the vocal delivery from Mateo is one of my favorites off this record as well. I think it's a great closer track. Instrumentally, I think it's a super strong track as well. Definitely some of my favorite instrumentals. I'd say kind of a three-way tie between Modern Slave, Kings of Ignorance, I'd say C'est La Vie's definitely in there as well, and then obviously this track Human Condition. I feel like it's just really well structured, it's really well written, and I think it takes a lot of the best elements on this record, but also Novelists in general. There's some heavy moments that from the band, but there's also a lot of really great melodic moments that they took a lot of influence from a lot of the songs of this record as well, and I think it really kind of creates this culmination of a great song. Aaron's solo, I believe, starts at around the 2 minutes and 29 second mark to around the 3 minutes and 13 second mark. It's a little bit more harder to determine because it is a guitar part. It's not like vocals. You can definitely hear kind of the change of that. Guitars are a little bit different, but that is what I feel like the solo was. So that is the answer that I'm going with. But I think that Aaron is really just a competent guitar writer. If you haven't checked out Intervals, especially the newer stuff, it's just so well executed, and he's, again, one of my favorite guitar players, so it was really cool to see him have a feature on a track like this. And like I had mentioned before, and I've been saying it a lot, I think it's a great closer track to this record, and really kind of highlights the best of C'est La Vie for sure. Some pros and cons I feel about this record. I think one big con, or not big con, but I feel like one con that I have about it, I would say it's a little bit more on the melodic and softer side, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but as I'm noticing the trend between the three records, I feel like not that they're kind of eliminating screams, but I feel like, you know, there's certain tracks that they kind of like load up the songs with screaming on, and then there's some songs that kind of have like a 50-50, and then there's a few songs off this record that are primarily singing. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. I think bands that can kind of find that nice transition of all those elements, I think really work out well. But I don't think they'll entirely get rid of screams, but I really do like Matteo's clean vocals as well. So it's kind of like a 50-50 for me, but not necessarily a bad thing. So some pros that I have about it, I think it's true to form. If you like Novelists, especially the last record, Noir, I feel like this is the next evolutionary step for them. So if you did dig kind of like the more softer songs, I feel like you'll dig that. If you dig some of the heavier songs, there's definitely some heavier songs off this record as well. As I mentioned before, it feels more melodic. It's definitely a little bit less heavy, but there are some heavy moments as well. And probably the biggest selling point of this record is there's really great features. I don't really feel like one stands out from the other. I think they're all kind of on a level playing field, but they all are very good. Like they all add to the song. They all make the tracks better. If I really had to kind of narrow down which one was my favorite, I'd probably say Camilla's vocal part was probably my favorite, just because her vocals are so different, and they just pair well with Matteo's, just because they had the kind of like bantery sort of part in the first verse. So that is my pros on that, and my overall rating for Novelists' C'est La Vie, I'm going to be giving it a 9.6 out of 10. It's definitely one you should go give a listen to. I think if you're a fan of that like progressive metalcore, even kind of elements of like gent and like elements of post-hardcore, this is the band for you. I've been saying it for many years how much I've loved this band. It's cool to see how they've progressed from 2015 to now, almost I guess it is almost 5 years later. I think they've just kind of just taken that trek and they just keep climbing. So, you know, I'm glad they signed this Sharp Tone, and I'm glad that they're continuing to put out music. And if you like the record, there will be links in the description where you can go pick it up. It comes out tomorrow, and is one that I would personally recommend you guys go give a listen to. And if you have checked it out already, let me know in the comments what your favorite tracks are. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, I'd love to have a conversation about, and if you have any more review suggestions, drop them in the comments below. I'll go make sure to give them a look at. Huge thanks to Austin over at Secret Service. He provided me with this record early. Also, shout outs to Sharp Tone. You guys just keep killing it, and I can't wait to see what 2020 brings. So go check out this record, and hopefully you'll check out a lot of the other reviews that I have coming up and the interviews. So thank you guys for watching. My name is Brandon. We hope you got your fix, and we'll be talking with you soon. Peace. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Of course, if you enjoy what we do, make sure to go check out the other series we do. We do album reviews, we do band interviews, and we do live videos, so definitely go check that out. Hit that subscribe button. It really helps out our channel, helps us grow. Make sure to hit that like button as well. Go follow us on social media. That's all down below. We try to keep that as updated as possible. We also made a new website where we'll be posting photos of upcoming concerts and stuff like that, which you can go check out at audioaddictionmedia.com and come get your fix with us, guys. Talk to you later. Deuces.